There are two questions that everyone seems to ask about Stewie Griffin. The first is, who can actually understand him?
Isn't she one of those people outside the family who can understand me?
And the other being, is Stewie gay?
I'm not gay. This whole thing isn't because I'm gay, so calm down. I can already see you licking your chops.
This is something that the Family Guy producers have been asked a lot over the years, but the simple answer is that Stewie is fluid. He's been shown to be attracted to both boys and girls, and even dogs and teddy bears. And in this video, I'm going to go through all of Stewie's love interests so far in the show. Now, looking back, I've noticed how his relationships with girls are treated a bit more seriously, with full and sometimes multiple episodes dedicated to them. Whereas with his interest in boys, it isn't really given the same attention, and more so just an excuse for the writers to make gay jokes.
Hey, where you drinking that Chardonnay?
Therefore, Stewie hasn't had an official boyfriend yet, so for that reason, I'm going to break this video into 4 sections. First of all, I'm going to go through all of his girlfriends that he's had over the show, and then go into how the writers have evolved his sexual orientation. This is followed by his strange sexual relationship with Brian, and then his teddy bear Rupert.
Don't frolic too much, Rupert. Save some energy for the hula contest.
So let's get started with Stewie's first ever crush in season 2's Dammit Janet. So first off, Lois drops Stewie off at his first day of nursery, where he instantly falls for a girl called Janet. And being a baby who can't really understand these new feelings, he's a little too rough when they play Duck Duck Goose. He just can't seem to understand why he can't get Janet out of his mind, so it's left up to Brian to enlighten him.
Looks like someone's in love.
Ha! That's so funny I forgot to laugh. Excluding that first ha.
Stewie is utterly besotted, and he sings an entire song to her. Now, I can't really play it now because of copyright reasons, but I have to say that Seth MacFarlane really is a great singer here. And if there's one thing that Family Guy does very well, it's these kinds of musical numbers. But yes, anyway, just when he's planning their future together and picking out couches, she goes and breaks his heart by asking another boy for his cookie. Oh, the betrayal. So he tries to make her jealous by bringing over his new girl, but it doesn't work.
Just look at that butt. That is a tight butt. Damn!
So Stewie lays his feelings bare and declares his love for her, soon realizing that she only really cares about the cookies, not him.
Well, sugar, the bakery just closed. You'll have to get your fill somewhere else, you oatmeal raisin-loving tart.
Therefore, this pinpoints Stewie's first ever love and first ever heartbreak. Realistically though, I don't think this girl ever knew what the hell was going on here. She just wanted the cookies. This was a great episode in that it fleshed out Stewie's personality, because back in the previous and very first season of Family Guy, he was really kind of a one-note character, only interested in world domination and killing his own mum. The episode also set the standard that you could do romantic storylines with Stewie, and not only that, but frame it via a very funny and dynamic perspective of being from a baby, whereby wanting a cookie from another kid is equal to cheating. The writers pushed this new angle further in season 3 by sprinkling in small hints that Stewie could be queer, while also making it very clear that he's attracted to girls too.
I'd do her, wouldn't do her. Ugh, who hasn't done her? Do her.
Also often fantasizing about chasing women around. Thus bringing us to his next girlfriend in season 3's From Method to Madness. Here Stewie joins the school's acting class, where he meets an uptight girl called Olivia, and the two instantly butt heads.
He's inexperienced. He'll drag my whole performance down.
Are you serious? Is she serious?
They are forever trading barbs and trying to outdo each other.
Well, I'd love to stay and chat, but you're a total bitch.
But when Stewie overhears his teacher saying that they'll have to cut him and Olivia if they can't get on, he realizes that they need to put their differences aside. So they put in the work performing a song and dance number that everyone loves. And because of their onstage chemistry, they're selected to go on tour, but their rivalry soon rears its head once again, and they're soon back to being at each other's throats. This boils over into a full-on fistfight live on stage. And so the band finally breaks up. Stewie then decides to go solo, but he's not as popular as he was with Olivia, and this makes him crazy to the point where he makes an actual Olivia doll.
Ask Stewie about his sexy parties. What were you thinking? I was just trying to... I'm not speaking to you. But Stewie, shut up!
One day Olivia stops by and Stewie suggests them getting back together, but she's far too busy being super famous.
So did you let him have it?
No, he let himself have it.
This causes Stewie to spiral even further until he's locked up in a mental hospital. Although Stewie and Olivia didn't necessarily get together here, the episode still set the framework for their romance further down in season 5's Chick Cancer. So here Olivia has grown to be a very big actress, starring in commercials, and comes back to Quahog to open a store at the mall.
Oh, that's perfect, Brian. We have to go down there this weekend and heckle her roundly.
Stewie goes to the opening with the plan to rub it in her face that she was dropped from her commercial contract. But he's surprised to find that he has feelings for her.
She's a woman now, Brian. So sophisticated, so grown up.
So to win her affections, he chooses to observe how Quagmire picks up the ladies.
Keep it down. I don't want my neighbors seeing a fat old dirty whore screaming at me on my front lawn.
Learning all the wrong lessons, Stewie turns up to her house the very next day dressed as a bad boy. He insults her and somehow still manages to get a date with her. It's during their date where Stewie drops the bad boy gimmick and is just himself, and they really do hit it off.
I can't think of any place I'd rather be than right here, right now, with you.
In a classic enemies to lovers story, the two become an official item, but soon enough they start bickering like an old married couple and Stewie gets jealous of a boy called Victor. Now this guy is pretty much Doug before Doug was a character. Also, speaking of Doug, I've been thinking about doing an entire deep dive into Doug and why the show killed him off. So let me know down in the comments if you'd be interested in seeing that video in the future. But anyway, the two get married in front of all of their stuffed toy animals and start playing house by moving in together. But committing to each other doesn't fix their issues and they start fighting yet again.
We have yet to have sex.
Do you even know what sex is?
That's not the point. Don't change it. It's a kind of cake.
By the way, I just love how despite being only 1 year old, they act like grown-ups and take part in double dates like with Brian and Gillian. I love it, it's funny. Stewie realizes that his marriage is on the brink of collapse and he vows to fix it, but when he comes home, he finds that Olivia is playing silly putty with this stupid guy Victor. So feeling betrayed, Stewie burned their house down.
Idea for a farce. Cheating wife and pompous ass burned alive.
Thus ending the short-lived marriage of Stewie and Olivia and leaving Stewie to consider if dating a man would be a bit easier.
They do. It's called being gay.
Oh, that's what gay is? Oh yeah, I could totally get into that.
Now, we will dive into Stewie's love interest in guys later on in the video, but let's just stay with Olivia here because they would rekindle their romance in season 15. When Stewie and Brian start their own band, they get to play their first ever gig at a birthday party, and it's here where Stewie bumps into his old flame.
You know, the last time I saw you, you were...
Burning in a cardboard house?
Yeah, burning in a cardboard house, yeah.
And despite, almost burning her alive, they get back together.
Oh, he can't go out with you tonight. He's got a date with me.
Really? Awesome.
It turns out that she had ulterior motives though, aiming to sidle in and split up the band and take one of their places instead. She wasn't interested in Stewie at all, she just wanted to steal his fame and form a new band with his bandmate Brian. And after realizing Olivia was manipulating him, Brian leaves the band and makes up with Stewie. But it doesn't matter to Olivia because she soon replaces Brian with Vinny. Now I have to highlight Olivia because I do think she worked really well as both the foil and love interest to Stewie. Because although she's not a super genius like another girlfriend I'll talk about later, she's able to match Stewie in his wit and aggression. I think it was nice how the writers were able to take the opportunity of the dynamic that I mentioned earlier by framing a love story and a romance through the eyes of a baby. So they were able to deal with things like the silly putty and relating it back to cheating, while also presenting Stewie and Olivia as a very serious domestic couple. And it was really, really funny. But even though their relationship was carried over into multiple episodes, I don't think that Stewie truly loved Olivia. I think he certainly fancied her, but this was just baby love. In my mind, he just enjoyed playing house and being an adult, so I don't really think of this as a Gillian-like scenario where Olivia is Stewie's lost love. And overall, I'm glad they didn't really overdo this relationship and I don't really feel compelled to see them together again. After Olivia, Stewie would look for someone more mature in season 4 when he falls for his new babysitter.
You are so cute, I can't even stand it.
Oh, thank you. I'm having a good time too.
But when she brings her boyfriend over, Stewie is furious and vows to get rid of him.
All right, that's it. Jeremy must be destroyed.
He goes all psycho, leaving creepy pictures at his house before breaking his leg with a tire wrench and dumping his body in the trunk of Brian's car. The next night, his babysitter comes around, and although that she's sad that her boyfriend is missing, Stewie wastes no time in copping a feel.
Well, how about no more job? You hear that, Miss Fussy Britches? I shall see you fired, damn you!
Feeling spurned by her rejection, Stewie tranquilizes her and then plants booze around her so that when Lois finds her passed out, she's instantly fired. But Stewie soon comes to regret this when she leaves him a mixtape. Of course, she never reciprocated his feelings, but for Stewie, this love was very real. And being only 1 year old, he's already experienced 3 heartbreaks so far. And he'd experienced his 4th in season 6's Mook Stroke. When Stewie watches some teen dramas on TV, Stewie makes a bet with Brian that he can become the most popular kid in high school. So going by the name of Zach Sawyer, he quickly gets in with the cool kids.
I wear long sleeve shirts under short sleeve shirts under long sleeve shirts.
Wow, oh my God. You're awesome.
God, you're so...
He becomes so popular that he starts dating Connie D'Amico and he's already thinking about their lives together.
Before you know it, we'll be like an old married couple.
To take their relationship to the next level, the two go to anal point, but when Stewie pulls his trousers down, Connie is less than impressed.
Is there more underneath, or is that it?
I'm sorry?
The next day, Connie tells everyone at school about Stewie's little problem, and he loses all popularity. So to get payback, he kisses Connie right before revealing that he's a baby.
This girl is making out with a baby! A nude baby!
Out of everyone on this list, Connie is definitely right at the very bottom of Stewie's loves. In fact, I barely even count her. Stewie was only interested because he was trying to win a bet. But they were technically a couple, so there you go. But watching this back, it did make me realise that we haven't seen Connie in a very long time. What happened to her? So let's move over into season 7 with his next love, Susie Swanson. So after being pregnant for 10 whole years, Bonnie finally gave birth in the episode Ocean's 3.5. And as soon as Stewie sees the baby, he's in love.
Oh my God, she's so hot. Look at that, she can fit that whole bottle in her mouth.
So to win Susie Swanson's affections, he performs a cover of Bryan Adams's I Do It For You. And I'm not afraid to admit it, I think this rendition might just be better than the original. I've said it before, but Seth is such a great singer, even while putting on this strange, weird British baby voice. Despite creating this musical masterpiece, Stewie never asks Susie out.
So, how'd Susie like your video?
I don't care about her anymore. I'm in love with Bryan Adams.
And honestly, I think it's kind of a shame that they seem to have just dropped this Stewie and Susie relationship after this episode. I don't know, it just seemed like a wasted opportunity for me to have these two baby characters that live right next door to each other, and we rarely ever see them interact. I don't think the writers really knew what to do with Susie after she was born. If anything, it would have been a lot funnier just to keep Bonnie pregnant for 25 years. It reminds me of my Meg video and her missed opportunity with Kevin Swanson. They could have kept it going a bit longer. No matter, however, because Stewie moves on, because he'll find a new love interest in season 8, Go Stewie Go. Here Stewie finds out that his favourite TV show, Jolly Farm, is getting an American remake and they need actors. So he goes to the audition, but when he gets there, he finds out that they've already filled all of the male roles. So what does he do? Well, he takes a page from Dustin Hoffman's book and goes to the audition in drag.
Hello, everyone!
Right after this, he hits on Brian in disguise, but thankfully, it doesn't go too much further.
Brian, it's me, Stewie.
From here, Stewie blackmails Brian into being his on-set guardian.
Brian, we both know I touched it. Now, if you'd like to keep that just between us, I suggest you sit back down and order me some chicken fingers.
Also, don't worry, I will be going into Brian and Stewie's very messed up relationship later on in the video. But back to the episode, and when Stewie arrives on set, he meets Julie and once again, instantly falls in love. As well as this, Stewie becomes an instant fan favourite on the TV show due to his outspoken feminist views. Stewie forms a bond with Julie, but she's dating another co-star.
Do you see the way he treats her?
What do you care?
Because I think I'm in love with her.
But the problem is that Julie only knows Stewie as Karina, and he's almost caught out when she turns up at his door one day. This causes Stewie to pull a Mrs. Doubtfire and quickly changes upstairs. Random note, but this is one of mine and my husband's all-time favourite movies, so you better believe that when we went to San Francisco, we had to find Mrs. Doubtfire's house. Anyway, Julie asks Karina for a sleepover at her house, and Stewie is well and truly in love. The next day, he confesses to Brian that he wants to reveal his true feelings towards Susie right before kissing her.
I'm not a lesbian.
No, I'm not either!
What are you exactly?
So during a live broadcast of Jolly Farm, Stewie reveals who he really is. A boy. He then tries to talk to Julie, but her mother won't allow it. And I have to say that I really like this episode. Well, this subplot anyway. The other one is Lois trying to make out with Meg's boyfriend and... anyway, if you want to know more about that, then check out my video on Meg. Looking back, Julie was just a very sweet and innocent girl, and maybe too innocent for Stewie. I believe he'd find a much better match in season 10's Mr. and Mrs. Stewie. When he's taken to the park, he's pushed over by a kid, and it's here where he's approached by a brand new girl called Penelope.
My name's Penelope. What's yours?
Stewie.
And you may recognise her voice because she's played by Oscar winner Cate Blanchett. And Penelope may seem sweet, but she's anything but, giving the kid who pushed Stewie a piece of candy that would literally choke him to death. The two quickly become friends, and Stewie likes her even more when she shows him her secret weapons room. He also learns that she also hated her mother and the fact that she actually succeeded in killing her.
I feel like I may have finally found, in you, my one true soulmate.
It seems that Stewie has finally met someone who is as intelligent and diabolical as he is, going on to blow up the Great Wall of China, the Eiffel Tower, and the White House together as a devilish duo. But when Brian finds out about this, he tells Stewie that Penelope is a bad influence on him, and that she's making him do all these evil things just for the sake of being evil. And this sticks with Stewie to the point where he suggests to Penelope that they don't have to kill all of the time. But when she finds out that Brian was the one who gave him this bright idea, she's not too happy about it.
Kill him. Kill Brian for me.
Stewie finds that he can't go through with killing his best friend, so Penelope decides to do it herself.
I knew you were too weak to do this. You're nothing but a coward.
No, Penelope, wait!
Luckily, Stewie rushes in just in time to save Brian. So Penelope shows up and the two battle it out using their advanced weapons. And I usually get so bored when Family Guy do these extended fight scenes, but I loved it watching it back. The variety of the weapons just made it so fun and engaging. Eventually, Stewie gets the upper hand, but Penelope causes a distraction by kissing him and sends him hanging.
That was beautiful. I'm gonna tell my friends I banged her.
And that's the last we've seen of Penelope. So far, I hope anyway, because I loved this character. I think Cate Blanchett gave a fantastic performance, and it opened up a really interesting chemistry with Stewie, to the point where she would not only be a great returning love interest, but also a great villain. Well, it's been 12 years since this episode aired, so I highly doubt they'll be bringing Penelope back. A fact I'm going to put down as Cate Blanchett simply being too much of a busy actress to record it. Which is a shame because I still think there is so much you can do with these two. But yeah, understandable. So with Penelope out of his life, Stewie is a weird baby bachelor once again, until season 11, in honour of Valentine's Day, Stewie goes back in time to the summer of love in the 60s and meets yet another young girl.
My God, she's incredible!
Stewie is so smitten that he plans to take her back to the future with him, and speaking of Back to the Future, it's only after Stewie kisses her, he finds out that the girl is none other than his very own mother. Ugh.
Oh my God, Stewie, what happened?
None of your business what happened!
Jeez, you kiss your mother with that mouth?
And it might just be because of this traumatic experience that Stewie hasn't had another girlfriend since this episode. Actually, that's not technically true because in the season 17 episode Pal Stewie, he sleeps with a full-grown lady.
Go get him, Tiger.
Hey, shut your mouth.
And I guess he also got married to that Ukrainian bride in season 19, but he wasn't in love with her and only did it because he wanted to experience domestic life, even letting Brian have sex with her. Now that Stewie's girlfriend's covered, let's now move on to his interest in boys. So the first ever hint that Stewie was gay came in season 2.
Wouldn't it be marvelous if I turned out to be a homosexual?
which was continued in season 3's first episode when Stewie sings about joining the Navy. It's also in season 3 where we find out that Stewie likes going to gay bars in order to relax. And by season 4, all these hints became far more overt, like when he spied on Tom Brady showering through a peephole.
I say, what the devil is all the fuss about? I don't get it. What's in there? Bing bong! Hello!
And it's from here where all pretense of Stewie liking men was dropped, and being gay became a huge part of his character,
Just passing through. See anything you like? Speak up.
taking over from his previous evil baby tendencies and mummy-hating persona. But even still, Stewie never actually came out officially, and his queerness was just limited to jokes.
Now I just need a guy's butt to eat this off of, and I got myself a night.
It's because of this he was able to be written into being far more of a sexual deviant, like when he found out that he was eating horse semen, he continued to swallow it. All that time where he dreamt about Shia LaBeouf peeing on him.
That's right, Shia, give me all you got.
We also learn that he has several female personas and regularly has sex with men secretly.
Hey, Desiree.
Oh, hey, Lee.
But like I mentioned before, these references were reduced to one-off jokes and cutaways, and therefore never really taken seriously by the writers.
Boy, clothes sure are a prison, aren't they?
But that's until 2009 in an interview with Playboy that Seth MacFarlane revealed that Stewie was gay, and that they were planning a coming out episode. He said, "We had an episode that went all the way to script phase in which Stewie comes out." Seth went on to say, "But we decided it's better to keep it vague, which makes more sense because he's a 1-year-old. And although they ultimately decided not to do this coming out episode, they would still dive into his sexuality further in 2018 Send in Stewie Please. In this episode, Stewie sits down to talk to a psychologist voiced by Ian McKellen, where he outright says he's not gay.
Anyway, fluid is something I hear being tossed around a lot now, but I'm confident in my heterosexuality.
The writer of this episode, Gary Janetti, said that his intention for Stewie is never to come out as gay or not gay because he'll forever remain in this state of confusion, as you would be when you're that age. Saying this though, a couple of flash future cutaways do reveal that Stewie will get married to a man, like in season 19.
We've come a long way.
We've come a lot of ways.
And then in season 20, when we get another flash forward of him being surrounded by his grandkids, and one of them asking if he's a top or a bottom.
Who are these kids you're talking to? I would like to have a word with their attractive fathers.
So yeah, while Stewie hasn't had any proper boyfriends, I still thought it was very important to include all of this because, well, this is a video about his love life. So now let's talk about Brian, because he was involved in a lot of aforementioned jokes about Stewie being gay.
Spit on me. Oh, that's nice. Now tell me I'm scum. How will that cool you off?
As well as when he posed as Brian's date to spy on Meg and West in season 4's Deep Throat, and when they're about to get caught, Stewie tells Brian to kiss him, before then saying this.
Hey, listen, freaking shot in the dark. You want to do something sometime?
They would also kiss again in season 5 when they tried to get themselves kicked out of the military.
Any room for one more?
Hell yeah!
But these jokes weren't just made to try and get each other out of a situation, because in the same season when they ballroom dance together, Stewie declares his actual love for Brian.
What? What'd you say? Olive juice. Olive juice? Olive juice, you too.
And then in the following season, when Brian breaks up with Julian, Stewie tries it on yet again.
You should have sex with somebody else just to get back at her for walking out on you.
Even many seasons later, Stewie is still trying to get it on with Brian. Like in season 19's Pete Terminator, where the two go into the future to find out that they become enemies, which results in a giant war, which includes them being hunted by Terminators. And when they go on the run, they hide out in a motel and Stewie tries to have sex with Brian by pushing their beds together.
I am ready to hit the sack.
Before then later on, in order to fix the timeline, Stewie then suggests that they kiss. But the most disturbing moment is when Stewie impregnates himself with Brian's DNA and he gave birth to their weird dog-baby hybrids. Although Stewie only really did this because he felt he was becoming distant from Brian, not because he wanted to be his husband or anything. Ultimately though, I'm not sure if Stewie really loved Brian in a romantic way. This is because there have been many episodes that have shown Stewie love Brian as more of a best friend and like a brother. I just think that Stewie is thirsty in general and just wants to occasionally get frisky with Brian, which also links back into how Family Guy was shaping Stewie into being more of this sexual deviant character.
You gotta kiss him to wake him up. What? I'm not gonna kiss you.
Either way though, it's very, very complicated and seriously messed up. But there's another fairy love in Stewie's life, and that's his teddy bear, Rupert. Rupert is Stewie's longest running romantic relationship on the show, and although he's not technically alive, he is very much so in Stewie's imagination. In his mind, Rupert is a tall, muscular man with a bear head, and is constantly fantasizing about their lives together.
Stewie, we've been playing for half an hour.
Oh, okay. You want to go ride the teacups? Teabags?
He's fiercely protective of their love, to the point where in season 7's The Man with Two Brians, he finds out that a new dog humped Rupert, so he kills him and chops up his body. Saying this though, he's not averse to watching Rupert get it on with another dog, like that time where he imagined tying himself up and watching Rupert and Brian get it on. And although he liked that fantasy, he didn't like it so much when he actually walked in on Brian humping Rupert for real in season 12's Quagmire's Quagmire.
And you know Rupert's a dude, right, you gay lord?
But Stewie is not going to let a little mistake ruin everything, and so he sits Rupert down and asks him to choose between himself and Brian, and luckily, he chooses Stewie. Despite this happy ending, Stewie and Rupert would continue to have their problems, like in season 13's The 2,000-Year-Old Virgin, where we find out that Rupert is having a secret affair with Adam West and even bought him a necklace.
I'm gonna let that teddy bear go all the way.
So yeah, not everything's perfect in paradise, especially when the two constantly bicker like an old married couple.
I'm sorry. I overreacted. Now you say you're sorry.
What do you mean for what? I hate you!
Despite these issues, Stewie still loves Rupert and is absolutely devastated when he dies in season 16's Dog Bites Bear. When Stewie finds that Brian tore Rupert apart, the two go on a long journey to scatter his ashes. And it's during the trip where Brian reveals that he only did it because he was jealous. We also learn the real reason why Stewie hangs on so much to Rupert is because he's scared of inevitably losing Brian. Because Rupert would never die and therefore leave him. So when they eventually get to the top of the mountain to scatter Rupert's ashes, it's a surprisingly really well done, heartfelt moment. Family Guy can really make some beautiful moments when they want to. When the two return, Brian buys Stewie a bear that looks just like Rupert and puts it beside Stewie while he sleeps.
Rupert! You've come back to me!
Meanwhile, the real Rupert is up in heaven riding alongside Paul Walker. So believing the bear is the real Rupert, Stewie continues their relationship. But this doesn't mean that things would get any smoother for Rupert and Stewie, because they eventually break up in season 19's The Talented Mr. Stewie. This is because Stewie found out that Rupert used to belong to Chris when he was younger. As a result, Stewie feels betrayed, like he's been cheated on, thus causing a rift between them.
I want this to work, it's just that sometimes I picture you in his bed and...
This becomes too much for Stewie to bear, and he breaks things off with Rupert completely, and therefore gives the bear back to his ex. Now single, Stewie starts to sleep around with other stuffed toys.
What do you think of that? That's something you can work with?
But he's not willing to make these new flings long term, only really using them to make Rupert jealous.
Brian, he's not in Evan Hansen. He's a male prostitute. Very cheap.
So not being able to get Rupert out of his head, Stewie goes travelling to find himself, but even all the way in Bali, he still thinks about Rupert. To find his inner peace, he travels to India and meditates at a silent retreat. And it's here where he comes to a realization.
I know how I'm going to move on. I have to kill Chris and Rupert right away.
When he gets back to the US, he invites Chris and Rupert over to a secluded cabin for dinner. He knocks him out and rows them out to the middle of a lake, and he tosses Chris overboard, but before he throws Rupert in too, he gets a ping on his phone. You see, inside his bear is a camera that records everything, and it shows him that Chris was planning to give Rupert back at dinner.
You guys belong together.
So, you do love me?
So Stewie jumps in and rescues Chris, although Rupert does get a little jealous when he performs mouth to mouth.
Come on, he's my brother!
More recent updates involving these two was when Stewie thought he was pregnant.
Perhaps being pregnant will be more difficult than I thought, and we still have to plan a gender reveal party.
And Rupert is getting on Stewie's case about marrying him.
Babe, please stop crying. Look, every couple needs to take things at their own speed. It doesn't mean I love you any less.
So now we come to the question, who is Stewie's true love so far? Ultimately, I think Penelope is the most fun love interest he's ever had, but looking back, his true love is definitely Rupert. He loves that teddy bear so much that in his eyes he sees him as a very real person. And I can see the writers continuing this relationship forever in the show.